Alrighty guys, we're back for some human juggernauts, and this is a Phyrexia all will be one standard brew. We're gonna go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked, but first things first, for anyone who may not know, I'm Red Cat and I play aggro decks and any decks with a red in them as well, so I hope that sounds fun to you. Also, we do got that Discord link down in the description if you're interested in joining that up. Speaking of the Discord, this was a suggestion over in the Discord, so thank you so much for the suggestion. It was to play Graaz, Unstoppable Juggernaut, in a good old-fashioned go-wide build, which I'm opting for humans this time. So, this is an 8-mana legendary artifact creature, Juggernaut. It's a 7/5 Juggernauts you control attack each combat if able. Juggernauts you control can't be blocked by walls. Other creatures you control have base power and toughness 5/3 and are juggernauts in addition to their other creature types. Okay, so we're going to try to buff a nice wide board state, make them all be 5/3 juggernauts. That's the goal. But 8 mana is a ton of mana, so we got to ramp up into this somehow, and I'm opting for Katilda to ramp in this build. Have all 4 of them. Even though it's a legendary creature, we really need to see it in this particular build. So it's 2 mana 1/1, rocking Selesnya colors up there. Protection from werewolves, okay. We don't see too many werewolves anymore, but still. Human creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any of this creature's colors. Nice. And then for 4, a green and a white, you can tap this, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, which really does come in handy a lot more than you would think. What else do we got in here, guys? Well, we got all 4 Lunarch Veterans. We're going to be slamming creatures onto the board, so that extra life gain is going to be huge, especially against super aggressive builds like Mono Red, which is floating about everywhere right now. Got a couple Resolute Reinforcements in here, just a solid way to go wide, but I'm actually opting for all 4 Join the Dance over just like 2 Join the Dance and 4 Reinforcements, and the main reason is because we get 2 of the tokens from this. And the tokens are going to be important because we have a couple Mondraks here on the top end of the build. And we might as well go over the rest of the top of the build. We got a couple Sigardas here to be able to buff our human board state, because we're not always going to see Graaz, and we're not always going to have the mana to play the Graaz out either. So being able to buff a nice white board state is still going to be important. And then that Coven ability does help us find more humans off the top, which is awesome. And of course, then it doesn't help you find things like Join the Dance. And so that's why I brought up like the balance between reinforcements and Join the Dance. It really depends, but I think 4 Join the Dance is going to be good, especially since it has that flashback cost for 3, a green and a white, which might not be too hard to hit since we have all 4 of the Katildas in here. We actually have more ways to ramp too, because I'm rocking all 4. Jugan defends the temple. We can rock this because I'm not rocking Thalia in the build. So this, on the first chapter of the saga, we get a 1/1 human monk. Nice, you get to tap it to add a green source. On the second chapter, you get a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, which at that point, hopefully you do actually have 2 target creatures on the board. And then it flips into Remnant of the Rising Star. On chapter 3, it flips into this. It's a 2/2 flying. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. And when you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. So you can use that extra mana for that ability, right? As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and has Trample, which honestly wouldn't be too hard to get to, I would say, especially if we just give all of our creatures +1/+1 with the Katilda. Now you probably do have all those modified creatures, if you were able to actually stay wide, of course. 3 Adelines, very powerful human. Of course, it makes sense to be in here. We're going wide, it creates more humans. Again, going wide, Wedding Announcement, all 4 of them make sense here. Human removal, Brutal Cathar, only a couple of them. It's going to die to literally everything, and it's mainly in here because it's just another human that acts as removal. Now we have 3 Soul Partitions as more removal, and this could be your removal of choice. It really depends. I'm going to try out Soul Partition this time. If you like Fateful Absent, that's great. I don't think I would go Lay Down Arms in this deck because we don't have too many planes, right? If you like a budget-friendly version, like Ossification is still totally cool, and we have enough basic lands for Ossification to work, so yeah, your removal of choice here, whatever you think is best. I'm going to try out Soul Partition today, though. Anything else? Man, I just zoomed through this one, I guess. Oh, maybe not. 5 minutes still. Of course, the Mondrak doubling the tokens works with the token on Jugan, the token on Adeline, the tokens on Wedding Announcement, Join the Dance, the single token from the reinforcement as well. Hopefully we're just gaining way too much life while all of these tokens are smacking onto the boards too. And at that point, maybe that gives us enough time to even see more land off the top to maybe just cast out Graaz and still have a bunch of 5/3s able to swing in with. It's just like, I have high hopes for this deck. After going over it, I feel like there's a ton of synergy going on here, huh? So we have all the dual lands, which I think is totally fine here. Like, we want the Razorverge Thicket for sure. We have a lot of 1 through 2s that we want to be able to hit. I think we rock the Brushland. It's probably the best land in the deck, and the Farmland isn't going to hold us back too much early on because majority is going to be the 3-drops anyway. So I think we want all the dual lands. Of course, Who Endures and A Seat of the Empire, we're leaning towards the plains because that's what the deck is leaning towards. Honorable mentions. Recruitment Officer. This could be a 1-drop instead of the Lunarch Veteran. I think the life gain on the Veteran is going to be 10 times better than what Recruitment Officer offers. No Thalia in here, and it doesn't make sense to me because all the Jugans, the Wedding Announcements, the Join the Dance, the Soul Partitions, powerful human, but not for this build. The Living Cure is a pretty powerful human that almost made the cut. Same with King Darien, just another way to buff a wide board state. It's actually a pretty powerful creature, as we saw in our soldier build this week. Rite of Harmony almost made the list. Could be a great way to draw some extra cards. Not this time round, though, but maybe I should have made a spot for at least 1 or 2 of these. An Anointed Peacekeeper is also just a very powerful human, but it doesn't help us go super wide like the other cards do, so I think this will be fine overall. That's the list, guys. This is going to be a super fun one, I feel, so let's go ahead, take it into some ranked, and see how we do. All right, like I was saying, there we go, right into the first match. Like I was saying, I'm actually expecting a lot from this deck now, so we'll see. The meta can be very, very tough, though. Good hand. Terrific hand, actually. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get a plains down. So turn 2, Join the Dance right away. It's sorcery, so. Beldon. Mono red. What are you doing here, Mono Red? Well, join the dance. Katilda's a good draw. We'll probably go Katilda into Mondrak next turn then, if they don't kill any of this. If we don't have to block, oh my goodness. It's kind of crazy how powerful a turn 2 and turn 3 can actually be for Mono Red. It's a ton of damage. Could double block the squee. Gonna go no blocks. Let's risk it, man. Let's risk it. So we pay 2. Oh, we only have 3 mana open. I don't know what I was thinking there, getting Mondrak down. For some reason, I thought we'd have 4 mana. This is totally fine too, but I'm pretty sure Brutal Cathar gets picked up. If Brutal Cathar does get picked up, then hitting the 1/1 makes more sense. Them not going well. We can't really block the Feldon successfully either. Alright, I'm going to take Squee. I think Brutal Cathar gets hit with burn damage, and then the good news is that burn damage isn't hitting our face, so... And if they don't kill Katilda, we have a ton of extra mana here then. Raiju. Oh, that's not good. I would buff the goblin. Yep. We don't want them to get Squee back. But a block here might be necessary. Take 5 instead of 7. They get the Squee and at least they didn't swing in with it, right? Going wide with Squee next turn is pretty bad. Hold on, opponent. I am thinking, buddy. Because if we take the 7, we'll have 4 mana here. 3 mana here. We could go Mondrak and Jugan. We'll be taking 1 because of the Brushland. Actually, we can use Katilda for the green source. Mondrak and Jugan gets us 2 1/1s that we can successfully block with. I think we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble either way, so I'm just going to take the damage. A Soul Partition. That changes everything, I would say. Well, Raiju still gets the damage through successfully. If we go Mondrak, we can still have the Soul Partition available for their turn. And getting rid of the Raiju, getting that out of the equation. See, join the dance is sorcery, so we can't just, like, we could still do that this turn. It's a lot of extra, and then we'll still have 2 humans available for the Soul Partition, right? Let's, before combat, because they could probably just drop a lightning strike. We're on the run, guys, but it's pretty cool. Like, there's, the Katilda's doing everything it's supposed to be doing. We just happen to be taking a lot of extra damage. Brutal Cathar showing a little bit of its weakness here. The good news here is it's not burned for our face. We do have to tap the Brutal Cathar now. Take the Raiju out of this equation. Yeah, not burn for our face means we do have a chance, and you guys can see how the Lunarch Veteran actually would have been insane, right? Like, for real, the Lunarch Veteran, how much life that would have given us. They gotta play with fire for our face, and they still have 1 card in hand. They scryed 1 to the bottom. They got Lightning Strike. Wow, they must be getting their quest done. GG opponent. By instead of, like, you know, just playing the Lightning Strike, they played 2 different things, which is totally fine. You guys can always feel free. If you're ever going up against red, feel free to get your quest done for sure. That's why I like letting people attack in as well, because that quest can be an absolute pain. I'll tell you what, man. I think that could have been anyone's game. I really do. I think that could have gone a lot of different ways had we actually seen the Lunarch Veteran. I mean, the life gain from that alone, being able to get Mondrak down what felt like pretty early was kind of insane too. The Brushland damage was actually pretty bad. Yeah, the extra damage that we were doing from the Brushland, I think we ended up doing like 3 damage to ourselves that game, right? So yeah, they're probably going to save a cut down. They don't want to hit a 1/1 token. Hopefully this turn is going to be like Tenacious Underdog, and then we'll successfully, yeah, Bank Buster, that works too. Nice, Thicket is good. I feel like the deck is drawing really well so far. So Katilda Wedding Announcement. So many reasons to rock all 4 Katildas. It's going to hold you back sometimes whenever the game decides that you need all 4 Katildas in the same game. And that'll definitely hold you back since it's legendary, but, you know, there's so much removal right now too, that even having 4 of legendaries, it just doesn't hurt as much as you would expect. So playing Mondrak this turn isn't actually the greatest idea since we don't have a mana open to protect it. So I think we're gonna double draw off the Wedding Announcements. How do you guys feel about that? Drawing 2 instead of creating extra tokens is totally fine this turn. And I guess keep a forest open, sure. Since it's at the end, it doesn't matter what mana we actually keep open here. Bankbuster draw. This has got to be mono black splash of Path of Peril. Is that the card name? The board wipe? I bet it is. So we got to be prepared for a board wipe for our tokens, which could be absolutely devastating. Okay, we'll have the mana open for the Mondrak's Indestructible now. Let's start with the swing. Not a full swing. I do want some tokens this turn. Mondrak. The good news here is Mondrak does not get hit by a Path of Peril until they have all the mana necessary, so getting a bunch of tokens. One of the announcements is flipping, and I can only imagine some life here. 1, 2. Nice. Very good. Very, very good. So, Path of Peril, they need 6 mana to actually fully activate it. This is 5 mana here. They go Invoke Despair. We probably get rid of the one that's not buffing our board state. If they go Path of Peril, we lose all the humans, but we keep Mondrak. A Sheoldred, nice, yeah, get a good blocker down. Brutal Cathar is pretty great here now, but Soul Partition also takes this out of the equation, and that way we don't have to take damage. And we full swing for 15. Throw up Bankbuster. Cathar can hit Bankbuster now. I think that's fine. Oh, yep, we want to draw. Join the dance is good. Let's take this Bankbuster out of the equation, I would say. At the Peril hitting everything next turn would be devastating, though. At least we have the Indestructible on the Mondrak. I think we just want to do as much damage as possible here. Lunarch Veteran, hey, there he is, huh? Alright, Path of Peril for 6. Mondrak stays. Because it doesn't exile, right? I think it just says destroy. Yeah, Mondrak. Pretty gross with that Indestructible, man. Ah, that's good. So they could still have like an exile. Or the Mondrak here. Yeah, GG opponent. I figured it was going to be mono black with the splash of Path of Exile. We've been seeing a lot of that recently. For good reasons, man. Path of Peril's a pretty solid piece of removal when you're seeing a lot of mono red, a lot of soldiers, and I know a lot of people are seeing Selesnya Toxic. I have not been seeing too much of that, though. I've actually been seeing different types of Toxic builds, like Abzan Toxic, which was a really cool one to go up against. Now that I say that, though, I suppose we're going to be seeing some Selesnya Toxic at some point. Oh boy. No green source, guys, but a couple turns of veterans, couple turns to actually see a card that we need. Opponent goes first. You know what? I'm going to try it, and here's why. Because if they are rocking an aggressive build, then at least veteran helps us gain life throughout this game. Which might just give us even more turns to see what we need, and while it was probably a mulligan hand, I don't know. We should play this as a land, even though it's not doing much for us this time. And we are in trouble if we don't see anything that we need next turn. So there's a bunch of green sources in the mana base. A bunch of green sources. Tenacious, yep. Power up Bankbuster, get a good old chunky swing in. Or not. Green source. Oh, buddy, let's go. Jugan defends the temple. Get a little bit of ramp on the board. It's probably gonna eat a cut down, unfortunately. They probably want to hit the ramp over the veterans, right? Huh. No cut down. Wow. Nice. Sheoldred comes down. Why does it always feel like Sheoldred comes down 2 turns too early? It always feels that way. We're gonna get a swing here, and we are going to take the 3. No blocks. They can power up Bankbuster if we target the Sheoldred. Who endures? Mondrak can come down. We're going to use this as... So I'm actually going to target the Veterans, because we're going to be using that as mana, I think, no matter what here. Because I want to be able to... So this is going to flip. I want to be able to give the Indestructible to the Mondrak when it comes time. I don't want to go Brutal Cathar join the dance this turn. I'd rather join the dance when Mondrak's on the board. And Cathar probably just bites the dust next turn anyways. Oh, sorry, opponent. I've been actually dropping the thinking for the opponents a lot more to let them know that I'm still here. There you go, Who Endures. Because Who Endures can hit the Bankbuster too, but letting Mono Black ramp isn't the best thing in the world. So we could get Mondrak down, and we have the 1 mana open from our creature to actually give this Indestructible. And then at that point, what we'll do is we'll ditch a Veteran and the ramp that we were using. And I think that is totally fine. And you can see, like, how many games here. Like, Katilda's just solid in every match. Right now, at least. No swings, end turn, and we have a good blocker with Mondrak. And as a matter of fact, they might even want to double down removal on it. I could totally see that. They target it with Go for the Throat. Then... Oh. So if we activate this now, then on the stack they use their instant speed removal. So we actually just don't activate it, even though we could. And we don't want to take the extra damage anyway. Hey, Katilda, let's go. Okay. So we're losing 2. Katilda's terrific, man. It's so great. Gain some life, sure, sounds good. Okay, Katilda gives us 2 extra mana. So we'll have 5, but we don't want to spend all of it necessarily. We might just go join the dance. I want to hit the Sheoldred, but Cathar's going to die. Well, if Cathar dies and they get their Sheoldred back, then at least... Man, how do I want to do this? Keep 1 open for the Mondrak. You know what? I will take this action. X is 1 is totally fine here. And we'll still have 4 open. One, 2. So we can actually give one of the Join the Dance tokens a +1 counter too. Getting the Remnant of the Rising Star a +5. So Infernal Grasp. Right? I will actually just take 2 then here. And spend the last 2 Veterans, right? Alright, let's see if they double down on the removal. We ditch the ramp, and we ditch one of the Veterans, which makes me a little sad. That is totally fine. Especially since we can recast it from the grave, too. It's going to be double removal for the Mondrak. Oh no, that's a lot of damage to their face. But Mondrak's out of here. We only get 2 things from the Join the Dance. At that point, okay, this is anyone's game, man. We actually have to decline. Oh man, because we spent 2 of our creatures to actually get there. They spent 4 life, 2 of their removals. I think doubling down was a great play from the opponent. I think that's exactly what they wanted to do there. Because we spent 3 creatures for 2 of their pieces of removal and 4 life, so it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I think they can start swinging with Underdog too, but... Okay. Sheoldred draining us a little bit. We're much further away from buffing the Remnant of the Rising Star now, but that's totally fine. Could always use the Katilda's ability too. go Brutal Cathar number 1. Hit the Shieldred. And I wouldn't mind spending an extra mana to give it a counter, but they dropped the Concede, actually. I'm a little surprised by that. They did just spend 2 pieces of removal. So maybe they had no removal remaining. But I think maybe after this, the next best bet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Use the Katilda, buff this wide board state. Remnant of the Rising Star would be a 7/7 with Trample in the sky. They would have 2 underdogs. We'd be tapped out except for the Cathar, which would have been a 3/3. I guess maybe we would have swung at that point because we were gaining from the Veteran too. Our whole board state would have been buffed, so if they swung with the Tenacious Underdogs, then they would have been in some serious trouble. I get it. After analyzing the board state a little more, I get the Concede. Although we also didn't know what was in their hand. It could have been a bunch of swamps too. If it looked like a bunch of removal, then I think it would have made sense to stay in there, pick off the Brutal Cathars, stuff like that. But then once we buffed the Cathar to a 3/3, cut down doesn't hit it anymore either. So the hands have been great, the draws have been great, the lines of play have been great. Technically no turn 1 here, but that's totally fine. Farmland has always been a little slow. Overall, this is still a great hand, and I don't think it's a mulligan. More mono black. Wow. Okay, well, I guess it is what it is. You know what? I think I'm actually going to get... I always change my mind, don't I? I think playing the Who Endures this turn is fine because if we see more mana on top, we want more mana all the time. But I love getting Katilda down early here. Having a couple veterans is huge. Katilda's what they want to hit with the removal, but then we're just gaining so much life throughout the rest of the game. Brutal Cathar's great removal, getting Mondrak down. Hopefully we don't see too much more mono black today because I really want this deck to go up against a variety. Also, where's Graaz, man? Where's our unstoppable Juggernaut? We haven't drawn it yet. Katilda, I feel like it would have actually helped us ramp into it pretty well in a lot of these builds. We're going wide easily. Go for Infernal Grasp on the Katilda. And we'll take the 3. No issues there. We really don't like seeing all these forests. We can't play Mondrak. It's going to be another forest from the Jugan. And we don't play Cathar yet because it has to hit Shieldred or Obliterator. And I don't mind swinging with these. Sure. I'm not going to block with them, I know that much, because we want to be able to get as many counters from the Jugan defends the temple as possible. And taking 3 from underdog isn't too bad. Yeah, we gotta get our double white source for the Mondrak, and if we see something like Adeline off the top, then we might be in trouble, guys, because the only other white source we had was from Katilda. So seeing a second Katilda could be pretty good. No blocks. Nice. Second white source. Buff the veterans. Oh, man. Second white source comes down, and now we have to be concerned that mono black is going to double down on removal for Mondrak again, because we don't want to do what we did last game and lose 3 creatures to 2 cards. But having the 1 mana open, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. Huzzah! We're safe. We have to take a lot of damage, but it's worth it. It's too bad we don't have another... It's too bad we don't have another white source to take a little less damage, but I'll tell you what, man. Getting indestructible against mono black is huge. It is really good. Turn 5 Invoke Despair, at least we still have the Veteran to sacrifice. We'll lose the Jugan, take less damage. I really want to get Remnant on the board, but at least it's less damage from an Invoke Despair. Mondrak's indestructibility is so good against Mono Black because they do not run a lot of exile. At least I can't think of any. The worst case scenario is they get us down to one creature and then have us sacrifice it, which of course we're trying not to do. They only got one draw there too, so yeah, we could do a few things here. We are running out of creatures, which is a little concerning. Veteran comes back. We could pick up the underdog. They're getting pretty low too. It's like I said, worst case scenario is they get us down to one creature, then have us sacrifice the Mondrak, and we only draw land for the rest of the game. I guess we can throw that on there too. That would definitely be the worst case scenario. So we don't want to block the underdog by any means. Oh, they actually have a soul transfer. Oh no. Oh, Mono Black rocking a soul transfer. We haven't seen that in a while. Get some life gain. Oh, we're in trouble now, guys. We're in trouble because Mono Black definitely knows how to draw more than this deck does. They have the Bankbuster ready to draw. Adeline is a great draw, dude. We're drawing so well. I still think we might want to keep the Brutal Cathar back to hit something better. Because the second they drop an Obliterator, we need to be able to scoop it up, right? Down to 7. Yeah, I think that's what we do. No removal for the Adeline, they go for the draw. It's good news, but a couple extra cards in their hand and they might have found removal. Seriously, man, we are drawing really well. The opponent seeing their soul transfer, I wonder if this is a one-of, or I wonder if they've actually been running into a lot more. See, Obliterator comes down, now we have the Cathar for it. Which is exactly why we kept it. Cathar and Wedding Announcement is a great draw too. They power up Bankbuster here because they want to be able to block the Adeline successfully, which might be a fair trade for us. A fair trade? Stopping the draw? Or just go wide. Let them block our 1/1s on the ground. I'm going fair trade. If they want to hit that Adeline, because they could have removal in hand anyways, if they hit Adeline and block a 1/1, it's 3 going through. We're going to draw from the Wedding Announcement. And they don't get more draw power from the Bankbuster now that it's traded, so nice. Get that draw. Yeah, get these lands out of the deck. We do not want to see land, so honestly, getting it out from the top is pretty good. Get it out of here. 2 damage in the air. We have 17 life, so we have a little bit of sustainability, but any removal for the Cathar could do it. But what they really want to hit is our Phantoms. But I guess first things first, Cathar. That way, Phyrexian Obliterator blocks everything on the ground. Soul Partition. So here's the thing. If they have any spot removal and we swing on the grass, so if we go Soul Partition, take 3, full swing, it's not enough. It's just not going to do it. So we got to keep Soul Partition in hand. Swing in the air, get another draw on the Wedding Announcement. It doesn't feel like removal. Let's see what we draw. Another Veteran. Moonrage Brute might be able to pick something up. Actually, Moonrage Brute is sweet since they didn't have spot removal last turn. The first strike on that and everything. See where they target this, because I think they want to -1 a Phantom. And I wonder if we... I guess we let it happen, right? Because we're going to have to Soul Partition the Flesh Gorger. And if they play another card, it switches to daytime, which lets us pick something up here. So it's a pretty good game, but this is anyone's match for sure. Sheoldred doesn't gain anything for them yet. So Soul Partition Flesh Gorger or Sheoldred? They played 2 cards, so we're going to pick up the Sheoldred here. Either way, we're going to pick up something, and I guess this is fine. We're going to pick up the Sheoldred here, and that should do it, right? We just full swing, they block Brutal Cathar, and they take 2 regardless. Because they're tapped out. GG opponent. Let's go, guys. Oh, man. All right. See if we can get some more variety here. Last game of the evening. What do you guys think? We're going to do good? I think so. I think we're drawing terrific. I think, like, in general, we're trying to do something fun with Graaz, the Juggernaut, the unstoppable Juggernaut, right? But we also just kind of landed on some solid humans. I think humans is in a really good spot right now anyways. And so, yeah, nice. Wow. Honestly, 3 Jugan defends the temples isn't as bad as it seems. Opponent goes first. We've been doing so well. I'm going to give it a shot, man. I'm going to give it a shot. Brushland. We might as well just get the farmland down here. I would love to actually see the Graaz this game, too. Might be some Jund. We've been seeing a lot of Jund recently. Soul Partition on Harvester isn't great. Adeline's a good draw. Definitely one of the most iffy hands of the evening, keeping the triple Jugans, because it can be pretty slow. Grixis! The fabled Grixis returns, guys. Where the heck have you been? Oh my goodness. For real, man. I haven't seen Grixis in forever. I literally can't remember the last time I've seen Grixis. I'm gonna pick up that token. We have open mana. And picking up that token is totally... Wow, we drew the 4th Jugan defends the temple. Is that... I think it's... Adeline dies to everything that the opponent has to offer. But I think... Right? Is it Adeline? Question mark? Because if we go Jugan, next turn we only have the 1/1 to buff with its ability. And so... But that doesn't... I don't know. All 4 Jugans, man. Like, it's not bad, but it's not great. Not right now, at least. Because we're giving them enough time to set up everything they need. Sheoldred's gonna come down 2 turns too early again, potentially, here. Oh, Sheoldred's Edict, actually, yeah. That works. It lets them get a good swing. See, by not letting them ramp with the token, this wasn't an Invoke Despair, which very well could have happened had we not taken out the token. Alright. Veteran's a great draw. Get the Jugan defends the temple down, and we still have 2 creatures now. Invoke Despair can hit this turn, though, which would let us... We do have a little bit of a buffer from the enchantment. We probably ditch the Monk. And then we're not going to block with the Veteran, because we have our other Jugan defends the temple. Oh, it's actually going to be Sheoldred instead of Invoke Despair. Okay, keeping me on my toes, opponent. Screw it on up. It's a great swing. 1, 2. So, okay. So if we draw a mana off the top, we double down on Jugan defends the temple. I'm just going to take it, man. I think we're on the run this game regardless. I think there was a lot of faster things we could have done, and I definitely could have mulliganed here too. Nice. So, like I said, if we drew a mana, we can double down on Jugan Defends the Temple. Which is super silly and actually a little bit janky right now since we're so far on the run. But at least we're getting a little bit of life back. And the opponent only has one card remaining in hand. So we'll see. We'll see, man. We got to keep blockers back regardless because they could draw a bunch of removal. Everything on our board gets hit by cut down. They can draw something to power up Bankbuster. They can Reflection the Blood Tithe Harvester. Yeah, we're in trouble, guys. We are in some serious trouble. Take out the Veteran, sure. At least we can recast that. We do have the 5 mana here, and actually... I wonder if they... Huh. Go for a swing. Yeah, what the heck? I'll take 4. What the heck, right? Like, we're in trouble either way. I think the best bet would be to risk as much as possible, and going down to 1 from Sheoldred is definitely the risk. Ooh! Sigarda. That's a really good... Oops. Oh, no, never mind. You still have to target before the other one enters anyways, I'm pretty sure. So no matter what order we did the sagas, I'm pretty sure the other one doesn't enter until the targets have been established. We've talked about that in the past. It's really weird and a little bit janky, but yeah. So we need to gain life, but we can't gain life. So we're just kind of like... Let's see, 1, 2... I guess decline. 4th Jugan. Although Sigarda could be pretty cool. This isn't a human though, so it's only buffing one of the humans. Yeah, we'll just go Jugan. 4th Jugan. All they have to do is pass the turn and we're dead. Since we can't gain anything, Lunarch Phantom requires a creature to die for us to gain life, and we need 2 creatures to die. Wow! Huh. We could do that, but I'm gonna decline. They took care of it. We could have paid it, but then 2 of our beefiest creatures are tapped. And like I said, all they have to do is pass the turn. This was an interesting one. Like I said, it could have been a mulligan. The 3 Jugan Defends the Temples is pretty risky, especially since of how slow it actually is. If this was a mono red list, for example, we probably would have been absolutely destroyed. The Veteran was definitely like the best draw possible. You know what? They might actually kill a couple of our creatures. Nah, yeah, they want to hit Phantom first to make sure. They just take everything out of the equation. And that's whenever another creature enters the battlefield too. So yeah, I mean, of course they want to hit that one first. I don't know what I was thinking there. GG opponent. If I would have blocked the other one, we would have had 1 less creature, but we also would have taken 4 less damage. So we could have survived a little bit longer, but I think this was fine. It was fine overall, right? Good game, opponent. Katilda, nice. I really like this deck, guys. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see Graaz the Unstoppable Juggernaut today, but that's totally fine. I mean, that's still what we built the deck for, and so at least the list has him in it, you know? Human Juggernauts, a Discord suggestion. Thank you again for the suggestion. If you guys ever notice, I put letters in the title sometimes to remind me where the suggestion came from and stuff, so that's what those are. Okay, Lunarch Veteran was awesome. Still a very powerful creature. I think it actually does a lot right now against the meta. I think decks are so fast and they do so much damage. I mean, look at Grixis, man. That's a mid-range build. That thing is slamming through damage. Holy cow. If we had a couple veterans that game, we might still be in that game, which leads me to a point of this build. It's an aggro deck as far as I can tell because we're going wide and stuff, but I think it can totally compete in that mid game. I think there's enough of an engine here. I think even though it's super simple, the draw power on the wedding announcements helps us stay in the game because we don't always need to generate tokens from this because we're going wide on so many other levels. So if you want to make the deck a little bit better, then you got to strip the spirit of the deck out of it, which would be Graaz. And honestly, even though it's not the spirit of the deck, I could see dropping the Resolute Reinforcements and opting for more removal. What should that removal be? I don't know if it should be more Brutal Cathars, because if you go up 2 Brutal Cathars, you have way too many 3-drops. So maybe you could drop a couple Jugan Defends the Temple for a couple Cathars, but again, same issue, man. It dies to everything, and I mean it, everything. So there's always like that, like Cathars on the board, and you have to say, well, the opponent's killing it next turn. What can we do with it this turn? So it depends, man. So yeah, if you wanted it to be a better deck, then of course you could take away the spirit of the build, which is Graaz Unstoppable Juggernaut, and just opt for more top end here. More 1-mana humans could go a long way. The mana base was a little bit restrictive at times, seeing a lot of green sources when we needed more white sources, or just seeing white sources and sweating to draw the 3rd green source, or the 3rd mana that we needed it to be a green source. We ended up getting it, luckily, because there are so many green sources packed in here. I think that just comes down to luck. I don't think that's an issue with the mana base by any means. 24 is totally fine, especially when we're ramping with Katilda and the Jugan, which, by the way, I think is totally fine at 4 of. I think Jugan Defends the Temple is actually just a really good card that never got its time in the spotlight, which is a shame, honestly. I think it's great. I really do. So Resolute Reinforcements we didn't see today, but I could see dropping these as well and opting for maybe more 1-drops. Maybe more 1-drops, right? Because if we're taking a look at humans here, Hopeful Initiate could be cool. I don't think it's necessary, but yeah, actually being able to destroy target artifacts or enchantments. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we have a lot of ways to give counters in here between the Jugan and the Katilda. Okay, I can see it. Dropping 2 reinforcements, going up 2 Hopeful Initiates. I think that could actually be great. Think about how many of those matches would it have been relatively decent to be able to pick up a Bankbuster real quick. Sure, we lose a couple counters, we spend mana. I guess it depends on the match, obviously, but I could totally see it. Now, we didn't see the reinforcement, so if we drop those 2, it doesn't mean we would have seen the Hopeful Initiate either, but still, I think that is definitely something to consider. In the honorable mentions, of course, I had Recruitment Officer, and I don't think this would do a whole lot in here. And yeah, I'm leaning towards that reinforcement. When you're going humans and you're going wide, of course, Adversary. This is kind of funny that these 2 cards I didn't have in the honorable mentions. It's because we kind of built something a little bit different here than what we usually see with humans. But this has lifelink. We saw how important the life gain on the Lunarch Veteran was, so Intrepid Adversary I could totally see in here as well. So, and then having the extra mana as possible because of Katilda and Jugan. What would I do? Okay, I would drop 2 reinforcements. I'd go up 2 initiates. I would drop a Sigarda and a single Jugan. Down to 3 is totally fine, and go up 2 adversaries as well. So I think that would help out overall. I think the life gain on this is fine. It's still going to get picked up by cut down and every other form of removal, but still it's just a very solid way to buff a wide board state, and probably more solid than the Champion of Light being on the top end, especially since actually playing 4 mana for a card is very difficult. And so what ends up happening is, like when we had the Mondrak you guys saw, we waited until we had 5 mana, so that way we had 1 mana left over to be able to activate the Mondrak ability, whereas for Sigarda, there's no protection for it. Go for the throat and it's out of here, man. So yeah, lots to think about here, guys. Lots to think about. And there's just so many great humans too. Like, where the heck has Sun Gold Sentinel been? Like, this is still such a cool and great card. A great way to flush out graveyards and everything. So a lot that I could have put into the honorable mentions. Of course, there's a lot of human soldiers that are pretty decent too. But other than that, yeah, 2 Hopeful Initiates, 2 Intrepid Adversaries, drop 2 reinforcements, a Sigarda, and a Jugan, and I think overall the deck would still perform pretty decent. And again, you could drop the 2 Graaz if you want the deck to just be competitive humans instead, which I do think it would be pretty competitive. You drop the 2 Graaz and go up some more early removal. Honestly, a couple more Fateful Absence could be good, or you could go up the 4 Intrepid Adversaries. That way you just have more ways to get lifelink on the board. Problem with Intrepid Adversaries, it dies to all the burn that Mono Red has too, so that's iffy as well. It depends, guys. It really, really depends, huh? There's a lot to think about here. I loved the Mondrak. I think the Mondrak was super powerful. I could actually see if you don't like the Juggernaut route, going up the 3rd Mondrak as well. And then just one more piece of removal or something. If you lean the whole deck further white, then you could have more plains, less of the dual lands, less forest, and then maybe a lay down arms. Could be removal that you could consider, but I don't think so. I'm not really sure. You guys let me know what you would add or take out down in the comments, of course. And if you made it this far into the video, then y'all are champions for real. I super duper appreciate you. I hope you had as much fun today as I had. It's too bad we didn't get the unstoppable Juggernaut out, but we can imagine, right? We can imagine what it would have been like to have a bunch of 5/3 human Juggernauts. Alrighty, guys. I will see you in the next video.